So I've been at the Y 17 years, which is a pretty long time. I moved here from Metro Detroit to work at the Y. And I started because I wanted to get experience in nonprofit management and leadership. So at this point, I've done program director level work to executive director level work, district exec, and then my current position. I stay at the Y because I love what we do and who we serve and how we get to choose how to serve people in all of our communities. As you know, I've been at a couple different facilities, including this one, so then I get to see all of our community work manifested throughout the city of Fort Wayne and the greater Fort Wayne area. So I just love the Y. I love what we get to do. And I've loved my work at the Y. So
you've been the COO for how long?
It's been about a year and a half that I've been the COO. So 17 years total at the Y though.
Biggest shock? You thought you knew what the job was going to entail, then you got the job. What was the biggest shock?
Okay, so when I first started in the job, I would say I was just doing operations work, like working in a branch times the amount of branches. I knew how to do that part of the work. The bigger picture, strategic thinking, the visionary thinking, the solving the biggest problems, the creating the policies and procedures are probably the things that I did not really understand or really have a grasp on. And so now I get to do that part of the work outside of just the day-to-day operations of the Y.
Is that more rewarding, the strategic part? Or equally as rewarding?
I would say I've grown. So every time I've had a promotion at the Y, I have to remember why I started. So youth development, youth, young people is why I started at the Y. I love child watch and holding babies. And the change that the Y gets to make with youth, but also with families and in communities. So every time I've been promoted, I think about how much more impact the role that I'm in has on the total community, the total family, or the total person. I would say I love the strategy stuff, the vision stuff, but then I also love the doing stuff. And as the operations officer, I get to do a little bit of vision and a lot more doing for the whole organization, wherein Andrew kind of does a lot of the bigger vision type things for the organization. But I'm the one who gets to we get to do this. I get to create the structure on how we get to do whatever we're doing in the community. So I'm loving that part in this last 17 years, having grown in each stage of my position and my development.
You know, it's similar reason to why we like designing YMCAs, really. It's the impact, it's carrying out the vision. You know, when we work with someone like yourself and you cast how you want to interact with people, what you want the Y to say to the community, we love hearing that because it gives us the inspiration for what we do. So it's really cool. What do you remember most about this construction process in specific at Jackson R. Lehman?
So when I started the position as the executive director of Jackson R. Lehman, I think you all had the walls up a little bit, but there was still dirt on the floor. So I got in the process pretty early along. You know, you guys started with Marty, then I got involved. And I remember walking into this facility with that hard hat, visiting a couple times a week with different things happening in the building and looking at the pictures that you showed me and then watching it come to life over the next 6 months, because that was in January and we opened in June. So I got to participate in the final 6 months of the building. I remember things like talking about doors or talking about, can we have a handicap button here? I remember discussing the locker rooms when we kind of all decided maybe doors or no doors. Right. And I remember us going back and forth about, do we put doors here? Do we not? We thought about all access for everybody in the community. We ended up not putting doors. Right. It was a little nerve-wracking at first, but it worked out. But I remember just watching the whole process from paper to action, and being a part of that was super cool to do with you all on the team.
It seems like, just being on the outside looking in at clients as the building takes shape, there's a lot of excitement, obviously, and there's also that tiny bit of panic because you see in their faces, I've got to get IT ready.
Yes.
I've got to get phone systems. I've got to get furniture ordered. I've got to start staging all of these things. Was it like that for you? Did you have a little bit of panic? And then when did you calm down and it just started to flow?
So I am not really a person who panics quickly, but I think the end of any project can create some sort of anxiety or panic if it feels off track. I feel like our project flowed pretty well when we opened this facility, and I think some of those final things that we had to button up, we gave ourselves that little soft opening weekend, and then we opened on a Monday. So it felt good to work out kinks over the weekend as we needed. I would say personally, I probably didn't experience a ton of anxiety. I think you all as partners did a really good job of communicating with us. And then internally, we tried to keep it on track with the things that we needed to do.
Oh, thank you. That's great. And I'm glad you didn't have anxiety. That sounds fantastic. So when you were executive director out here, what was some of the feedback that you got from members about the facility?
So members have enjoyed this facility. So I'm not from Fort Wayne, but having been here 17 years, people have anticipated this YMCA probably 5 years or even 7 years before we even built it, because the Y had looked at the land and purchased the land. And so I think this community had been waiting for this facility. And as we saw within our first week, thousands of people joined, we had thousands of visits, and people were just really excited about having this facility right in their backyard, right in their neighborhood. I know lots of people here in town whose parents grew up on this side of town, and so maybe there were kids on this side of town. So I think people were just really excited about finally getting a YMCA right in their neighborhood.